So tonight on the 50th edition of the Big Ten Live Show, and welcome in everyone. We appreciate you being here. Never take you for granted. Thank you for taking the time to talk some college football with all of us. But on the 50th edition, win totals, match those up against the schedules. Let's do that. Let's also possibly introduce you to your next big addiction. Have you heard of Sporkle? I was reintroduced to Sporkle today. Haven't seen Sporkle, haven't thought about Sporkle, haven't even considered it in existence for a long, long time. And it was probably not a good thing that I rediscovered it today. Sporkle, yes. So we will look up Big Ten Sporkle. All right, folks, comments and questions, leave those in the chat. We appreciate you being here. Amazon links in the description section of all the videos. Here's the key right there. You're throwing money to Amazon. You're throwing it at Amazon. Throw a buck here. Be a distributor. Know how to distribute. All right, so take the Amazon link, use the one that we use, and therefore, you are able to contribute to the channel without spending a penny. How about that? Please hit the like button as well. All right, let's talk some Big Ten football with all of you. The link is in the comments section. They're in the chat. And we will get to the news of the day, not so much there, but we also will bring in our first guest of the night. We got Daniel House here from Gophers Guru. Daniel, how's it going?
Sporkle. Now I'm intrigued. I'm going to be looking up
Sporkle.
Sporkle.
You don't know anything about Sporkle?
I have no clue about Sporkle.
Oh, man.
So now you're going to have me addicted to something here. I have a
Sporkle
feeling.
with a C.
I looked it up trivia, so that's definitely going to be in my wheelhouse.
Are you a baseball fan?
Yeah, I like baseball.
Okay, so if we take baseball, for example, I've been hooked more on Sporkle. And again, I haven't run across Sporkle probably like 5 years. And if you're anything like me, when things leave your life, then I forget about things. Like I'll come across a TV show that I was addicted to years ago, and then I'll be like, what happened to that? Why did I stop watching it? Oh, that's right. That exists. I'll eat certain foods, and then I'll realize years later that, oh, I used to love eating that all the time, and now I don't even touch it. It's just I get into habits, I get into patterns, and this is one of those that for a couple years I was kind of addicted to this, but it's been out of my life. But I came across it again today, and that's probably not a good thing. But the reason I bring up baseball is I've found it to be a really good baseball trivia because while I no longer follow the national pastime, I was a avid, ridiculous baseball guy for years and years and years. And, it asks you things like, and it gives you a timer and says, for example, name all the New York Yankees opening day lineup since 1980. And it gives you a timer. And when you fill in a name, it pops in. And
man, now I'm going to have to check this out. Hopefully there's a football component in there.
Oh, there's a lot of football in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would definitely be in my wheelhouse.
Well, Daniel, Minnesota fans are hoping that in their wheelhouse is going to be a few more wins than what Vegas is anticipating, at least. I don't know if you saw the Minnesota win total, but it is, I believe, the lowest in the Big Ten.
It's towards the bottom. Yeah, 4.5 right now.
It's 4.5. I think it's last.
Yeah, I believe it's right at the bottom. You look at the schedule, there's going to be some challenges here. I mean, the first game you're playing North Carolina right at the beginning, that those games, I always talk about it in the lead up, that a lot of unpredictability. You try to figure out new personnel, what type of schemes you're going to see. You made a defensive coordinator change there, so it'll be a little different scheme. And so, those games like Rhode Island and Nevada are definitely ones that you have to win. And then that first one against Iowa, Mark, after what happened at the end of that last game, there's going to be a lot of pent up enthusiasm for that game on both sides, even more so than usual. But you look at going to Michigan, USC at Huntington Bank Stadium for the first time as Big Ten school. UCLA has some question marks and went with Foster as a head coach, but that's another game that you're going into a new environment. I think the key matchup is going to be, when you look at the schedule, you got to get hot in mid-October and early November. You got UCLA on the road, you got Maryland at home, you got Illinois and Champaign, and then you're going to Rutgers. So if you want to exceed that win total, you got to perform really, really well in late October and early November.
Do we know yet when Minnesota goes to spring practice?
Minnesota will be starting spring practice later in March here. So then we'll get some access to a few practices here and there to check out the roster. That's always the best part because as media, you're not in practices. Last time I saw a live practice was in August. So being able to go in and kind of get a feel for some of the new additions, the early enrollees that are coming in as freshmen, and then some of the transfer portal additions as well. So that'll be useful.
So we're about a month away. And if you could follow one position group for the entirety of spring practice, and you had to be there for every practice, you couldn't go anywhere else. You had to stick with that one group because you wanted to learn the most about their development and how they were coming along. What position group would you track?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I would probably go with the defensive line, really honing in on the defensive tackle position, because I think that's the one spot where there's some youth that is going to have to step up. You got Logan Richter, who got some experience last year, is more of an early down run defending, run stuffing type of defensive tackle. The question is, who's really going to emerge in that one technique spot with Kyler Baugh departing, running out of eligibility? It's Richter as more of a rundown type of defensive tackle. You're looking at a guy like Theo Randall, a young player from Texas, second year, flashed a little bit in the spring and the fall with just the traits and the length inside. Just had to get stronger, get into strength programs. So I really want to see where he's at in his development. Darnell Jeffries, who missed last season, will be returning as a veteran as well. And then they got Devin Eastern at the three technique spot, who really emerged last year. A twitchy three technique defensive tackle who I thought from game one to the end of the season made a lot of progress. And he's someone they'll build around at that position. But it's that one tech spot and that nose area. What are they going to who's going to step up in that role? Maybe they take another defensive tackle in the second window. Jordan Garrod, a defensive tackle from Florida International, was committed to Minnesota. Then they had a U-turn situation where he committed to Minnesota, decommitted, and went to Louisville. So they were going to take a defensive tackle. So I would anticipate maybe that's a position they'll look at, along with potentially bringing in a backup quarterback, because Logan Fife from Fresno State, he committed, then decommitted, and now he's at Montana. So keep an eye on those two position groups. But I'd say follow along with that defensive tackle spot. I'm a big believer in interior defensive line play, so I want to see what Winston Deladabadier can do with that group.
90% of everyone else is going to be watching the quarterback position, of course. After watching Ethan Kalkumanis for roughly a year and a half of starting experience and him moving on to Rutgers, and that's going to be a heck of a battle between he and Gavin Wimsatt, very different quarterbacks. And then it's Max Brosmer, I want to pronounce his name correctly.
Max Brosmer, yes.
Brosmer. Now that you've seen him on tape and have studied him, what are the differences between what he's going to bring to the table and what we saw out of Kalkumanis?
Different style of quarterback in terms of accuracy, touch, anticipation. That type of trait is something that he has shown on film consistently. I like to look at how quarterbacks throw in the red zone. I do that a lot when I'm evaluating NFL draft quarterbacks, because I think that's the spot where when space is compressed, you got to be able to hit the window, lead the receiver open, process quick, and know where to put the football. All the traits come together in the red zone. And that was where he really shined at New Hampshire. He had a lot of success in that specific area. Accuracy, like I mentioned, 78% completion percentage off of play action. That put him in the 86th percentile among FCS quarterbacks. 11 touchdowns and just one pick while using a play fake. Very good against blitz pressure. One of the top quarterbacks facing blitz pressure, and he was pressured in those situations and blitzed the most of any FCS quarterback. So definitely has that trait of being able to process when he's got a lot of pressure in his face. So those things I'm looking at, and also when you look at the film, I'm like, gosh, this guy's receivers are dropping a lot of balls, and it wasn't like it was uncatchable footballs. It was just awful drops. And I went back and looked at the numbers, and they had the third most drop passes among all teams last year in the FCS. So taking that into account, people looking at just the raw completion percentage aren't really getting the full story of his accuracy. So I think accuracy, anticipation, those traits, and then the smarts and processing, that's what you're going to get with Brosmer, who's very experienced. Now it's just elevating up to the Big Ten level, which would be fun to see him in spring practice a little bit.
We've got Daniel House here from Gophers Guru breaking down Minnesota football for us. B. Bean would like to know, as we take it off the football path here briefly, he wants to know your favorite landmark in the Twin Cities.
Favorite landmark in the Twin Cities? Ooh, that's a good question. There's quite a few. There's a lot of stuff to do. I'd say you got to go to the Mall of America and experience that once if you've never been there. Like just all the things that you could do, all the different stores that you can check out. You got the ability to go to the amusement park in the middle of the mall, and it's quite the experience to go check it out when you get a chance to. I'm not a huge mall person, but like I would recommend it if you've never been there before. It's definitely one of the things that people always got to check out when they come to Minnesota.
I got to think it's had a lot more success in staying sustainable and thriving because it is a landmark, because it is famous, because people come from all over the place to go there, as opposed to your typical mall down the street that in this age of internet shopping and everything else involved, and after COVID, that half these malls have shut down. But this is a whole different deal, of course. This is something that people know from coast to coast and around the world.
Yeah, and I'd say Stone Arch Bridge is pretty cool too. If you get a chance, like you want to go check something out around the U of M campus that kind of leads you into downtown. It's a unique part of the U of M is kind of being connected to the city, where the city's right there and you got the campus not too far away. So there's a lot of different things to do. The music scene's impressive. All the sports that you could possibly want in the market, all the pro sports teams plus the college. So it's always fun to. There's always something to do. You're never bored in the Twin Cities. So the Big Ten tournament's coming for basketball too. So a lot of people will be in town in March for that.
So they have finally broken up the Indianapolis-Chicago monopoly on the Big Ten tournament.
I think that the Minnesota can thank Kevin Warren, because when Kevin Warren was there, he was able to help Minnesota pick up that event, kind of lead the charge on that one. Hopefully they can continue to get it, because Minnesota's a really big basketball state. I don't think people realize how much basketball is loved in Minnesota. People show up for it. So it'd be fun to be there and kind of see how the event works.
Well, Daniel, while we're on the topic of the fans and what they're interested in, and the basketball segment, and obviously there's a huge overlap with football.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time of year where you see a lot of people's opinions. You see polls, you see rankings of more off the field fan bases, for example, how rabid the fan bases are, how large the fan bases are, how this they are, how that they are, delusional, and the like. How would you characterize the Minnesota fan base, and how invested are they? Because they are truly, they are the only technically NFL-based university. Now, of course, Michigan is close to Detroit, and Northwestern is very close to Chicago. So those are extremely close to those NFL cities. But in terms of being in an NFL city, this is the one that has to somewhat compete. I would think in some ways there could be some benefit to that, but mostly it kind of takes away, I would think, from the attention on the Gophers. So how invested do you think this fan base is?
Well, I mean, the Vikings, if you've been around Minnesota, you know how big the Vikings brand is. I mean, when there's a game on Sunday, it's all Vikings. Everybody's stopping what they're doing to watch the Vikings, and that's always been the case. But you go back, I talked to a lot of people that used to cover the Gophers back, way back, when they were national championship program. People always talked about how Minnesota college football is the biggest deal. Like the Gophers playing at Memorial Stadium, going and watching a game back in like the Bernie Bierman era, and seeing how successful that was from day one when they built that program up. And then you got Murray Warmath there. All the success that they had, they said that the Gophers were a lot like the Vikings were when the Vikings started here. Then, it sort of fizzled into becoming the king, which is the NFL. And as you mentioned, a lot of those other fan bases, college football is the heart of that city and the heart of that market where there's a lot of competition going around, the whole Twin Cities sports scene. And I would say Minnesota fans, they're still passionate about college athletics, but definitely attention is diverted. However, there are people that are very passionate about Gopher football, and I've been around a lot of those people that they will go to everything. They support it. I think you're seeing it with the growth in NIL. They've had a lot of success with that over the last year here, building that up, getting people to understand what it is, how they can support the team, and grow that area because Minnesota is unique in the aspect of there's a lot of corporate companies there. There's a lot of opportunity in the business landscape. So I think people are understanding that you have to have NIL to compete. So Minnesota now looking into the future, they're trying to capitalize in that space, which I think, like you said, Mark, being in an NFL market creates a challenge. It creates you're competing for attention all the time, and that's with everything. You got the Timberwolves #1 in the Western Conference right now, competing with your basketball program. Like it's a challenge, but I think people are still passionate about college athletics and go for sports in general. Like that's the cool part. You can never get bored with sports because there's always something to watch in the Twin Cities.
Because if you're my age, then you can relate to the buildup for, let's say, Sunday on, let's say, the nightly news, the local news, which I don't know how many people watch the local news now, but I don't and haven't for years. But it used to be the staple of most American households. And I got to think in Minneapolis, with the Gophers playing an afternoon game on Saturday, and let's say it's a typical Minnesota season, and I'm talking again years ago, this having a much greater impact. If the Gophers are en route to a 7-4 season, 5-6 season, whatever it might be, but the Minnesota Vikings are bidding for a playoff spot, and regardless of how good they are, even if it's not even a good season for the Vikings, that Saturday attention quickly, once the Gophers game's over, and maybe even before that, is shifted on the Vikings, and all that attention on the Vikings, I would think that would be difficult to deal with. And now it's a fight for internet time and internet space and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I was ingrained in Vikings when I started my first business with that, all the attention being on the Vikings. And then I decided, hey, there's a niche here for Gopher sports content. There's people that want to read about the Gophers on a higher level and get an understanding of who the people are in the program. So there's definitely a thirst for. I say it's a very passionate football state. I don't think people realize how like high school, college, and pro. And it's not even just the Gophers. Like there's a lot of college programs that get support at lower levels, like St. John's and St. Thomas. And I was looking the other day because I actually do a lot of work with the National Football Foundation chapter up here in Minnesota, and it's fascinating because there are only 4 states in the U.S. that have more than 3 GMs who went to college in their state, and Minnesota is one of them. They've got 3 general managers currently in the NFL that went to a college in Minnesota. The other 3 states are California, Florida, and Massachusetts. So football is a big deal in Minnesota, bigger than people think, I think.
It never hit me until you just sized up and mentioned the name Bernie Bierman, because then I thought, okay, the last time Minnesota won a national championship in football was 1960. The Vikings took the field for the first time as an expansion franchise the very next year, in 1961.
Yep.
Grant Harkington and the whole crew, Norm Van Brocklin. Okay. And then I don't know if that's a coincidence. There shouldn't have been much of a connection at that point, but with so much attention going to the NFL, and then of course the NFL only got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the Vikings weren't very good, as most expansion teams aren't, for a little while. But by '67, which I believe is the last Minnesota Big Ten championship football team. That was right about the time the People Eaters and Joe Cap and so forth took off and made their first Super Bowl in the '69 season. So there seemed to be a takeoff from the NFL franchise at the same time that Minnesota was, um, leaving dominance.
It's fascinating to go back and look at that, because I mean, there were a couple people in our market that, there still is a couple that I talked to about the early stages of Gopher football, and they're like, you would not believe it was the biggest deal back in the day. Everybody used to go to Gopher football and support it. I mean, they're still that way. I mean, I look back, like there was something to do with like the Johnson family that owned the Jets. The mother of the Jets owners, Betty Johnson, she was a huge Gopher football fan. She used to go to games all the time and was a big supporter of Gopher football. So I hear all these stories about big time people coming to watch the Gophers back in the early days, and I see all the history associated with the program. Babe Ruth, there's photos of him uh, on the old football stadium that used to be in the middle of campus. Now where like the mall area is, there was an armory there where they used to have the football field. And every time you drive past it on University Ave, I'm thinking about all the photos that I've looked at that it used to be right there. And then they had Memorial Stadium, which was on campus. And then what hurt football, Mark, was when it moved off campus, because they went to the Metrodome. And that just totally kind of sucks the momentum of getting students to games. So now with, they get TCF Bank Stadium, which is now Huntington Bank Stadium. It took time to build that back up to, getting students to come to games and building that excitement. So that was a turning point for Gopher football, was getting it back on campus again when it left.
The most of a fever pitch I've ever seen Minnesota football, at least on television and trying to obviously soak up the atmosphere, was when Lou Holtz was there in 1985. They had a good team, Ricky Foggy at quarterback. They played Ohio State in a, when you say nationally televised game now, they're all nationally televised, but that meant something back then. It was like a CBS game. And the place was packed at the Metrodome, and it was just, everybody had a pom-pom, and it was just one of those scenes where it was just shaking the building. And he built up this moment to and they made a Rose Bowl kind of theme. He made the Rose Bowl kind of a theme for the week, that this is the team that goes to the Rose Bowl. We're playing Ohio State. They were in the Rose Bowl last year. They're a perennial Rose Bowl team. So this is where we changed that, and they almost pulled it off. It was like a 23-19 game, but didn't quite pull it off. And of course, Lou Holtz was off to Notre Dame shortly thereafter.
Yeah, everybody talks about that era of Gopher football with Lou Holtz coming in for a brief stop and then everybody always does that when Minnesota gets a new coach. They're like, well, is this going to be the Lou Holtz? That fans from that era always talk about that. But it's like the landscape's so different now with college coaches and the world we live in, with people shuffling around all the time.
And so that said, Daniel, was there much, I will say, fear out of those supporters of PJ Fleck, and maybe out of those critics of PJ Fleck, a thought that, okay, well, we can move on from him because of the UCLA connection? A lot of people making that a destination for PJ Fleck before he put a halt to that.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely discussion about that on social media. Everybody was wondering what was going to happen, and ultimately, you kind of got to weigh it out. I think, you look at UCLA's revenue, Mark, and what they're bringing in, and some of the challenges there. The stadium needs some upgrades, and it's away from campus, and financially, are they in the best spot right now? That's not to say, when Big Ten revenue starts coming in, that things aren't going to change there, but you kind of got to weigh out like the timing of the whole thing too. Like, was it the best time for a coach to leave a university, a sitting head coach, to leave and go in February with the chance that, rosters, are they going to stay in place? Like, it just creates a lot of mayhem. If you're looking at it from a coaching perspective in December, Chip Kelly leaving so late put UCLA in sort of a difficult spot, because those sitting head coaches are probably going to entertain the idea and listen and sort of, get some information on it, but maybe they're not going to be wanting to pull the trigger on it. And that, Flex got a buyout that you got to consider in the process of it, that UCLA would have had to pay, a nice chunk of change. I believe it was $7 million for the buyout. So that's because Mark Coyle put the contract together to, you know, put Minnesota in a spot where if someone was interested in Fleck, that they were going to have to pay up.
And you did say 7, as in 7 and just one
7
single
million.
digit.
7 million, yes.
Which in this day and age, Daniel, sounds like nothing. Jimbo Fisher's was like 77 million. And I know Auburn's been on the hook for Gus Malzahn. They probably just finally got off the hook for Gus Malzahn and had Brian Harsin on at the same time. Theirs was totaling like 35 or 38 million. I think Florida State was on the hook for Jimbo and Willie Taggart at the same time. It's quite ridiculous out there.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the whole thing. The landscape of college football with buyouts, it doesn't seem to be prohibitive anymore. Like people will find the money. Where UCLA, I don't think it was the case with UCLA. Where UCLA, they financially they're. I didn't realize really the financial situation that UCLA's in, but now coming into the Big Ten, you give it like a few years here when the revenue starts rolling in and they get things rocking. And I think they'll benefit from being able to recruit the Midwest a little bit more because you can say, hey, you're not going to be playing on the West Coast all the time. You're going to have some games in the Midwest, which allow you to kind of tap into that market. But I think PJ, when you look at what PJ's been able to do in Minnesota, it's watch an NFL game on Sunday. I mean, you see a lot more talent from Minnesota out on the field every week. You got Tyler Nubin, who could go in the first 2 rounds of the draft this year. John Michael Schmidt started last year. Jordan Howden played a lot. Terrell Smith saw action with the Bears. Benjamin St. Juste with Washington. And you look at the 7-year average of players invited to the NFL scouting combine. It's 2.57 under PJ Fleck, which is the best since Glenn Mason had it at 2.28 during the 7-year period from 1997 to 2003. So when you look at 7-year averages for scouting combine invites, PJ has done a nice job of producing NFL talent. There was kind of a little lull from about 2004 to 2017. So that was something that he's definitely done well building the roster.
UCLA football should thank its lucky stars that they are located where they are. They're attached to USC and they've been thrown a life preserver because you're right. It's well documented, well known that the athletic department is not in good shape financially. Now that's completely separate from the school. The endowment, the school is in great shape. So I don't know if they would ever cross money, but like you say, once the TV money takes over in the Big Ten, they should be able to patch a lot of wounds there, put a lot of Band-Aids and take care of things. But UCLA football to me is a sleeping giant. It should be such a better product than when it's been based on how many football players they have in their backyard, that they're in the number 2 market in the country and all the advantages they have there at UCLA. Well, Daniel,
I'm excited for Deshaun Foster. Not to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I am very excited for Deshaun Foster. I know somebody out there that knows him really well and has worked with him, and they say he's got a lot of energy, very passionate about UCLA and the university. With that NFL experience, it's going to be fun to see what he can do. I mean, kind of watch how he builds the program and approaches it as they transition into the Big Ten. It's going to be a big task, but I think having an alum kind of drive home the energy and the nostalgia of the program will be good for him.
Yeah, that's always an interesting dynamic because I think if everything else is assessed as being the right fit, then that can certainly be a benefit and add to it. There can be just a natural fit that individual has just a burning passion, a desire to accomplish a lot, even more so. Of course, regardless of where they go, there's a desire to accomplish just for your own career, but it's extra incentive, of course, at your alma mater. And then in addition to that, just understanding the landscape and the culture of the program and of the school. Well, Daniel, we're going to have you pull double duty here as Michigan State analyst. So,
oh yes,
Joe Rossi, So he has been, and you had mentioned just a few minutes ago, just concerning the nomadic nature of coordinators and assistant coaches, in particular in college football. But my goodness, he's been in Minnesota since Rob Smith was dumped late in the 2017 season when they fixed the defense. He did a remarkable job helping PJ get that team to a bowl game after a horrendous start. I think they were 3-6, and they won the last 4 plus the bowl game against Georgia Tech to finish 7-6. And since then, they've done nothing but win bowl games. And now Joe Rossi moves on from Minnesota to Michigan State. So for our Spartan fans, what can they expect?
Very detailed fundamentals, well coached football, very good run defenses, tackling, major emphasis, explosive plays. You're going to hear a lot about not giving up the big play. Everything that is done defensively is going to be built around not giving up explosive, dynamic, sudden field position shifts that occur with big plays. It can change the outcome of games, and Joe really believes in that quarters based defense. So you got, cover 4 elements, cover 2 elements, plays a lot of cover 6. So quarter, half coverage. That's something that'll be a little bit different from what Michigan State's done in the past. They've had quarters elements under Scotty Hazelton before. So that should help the transition a little bit there, but they didn't run a lot of cover 6. So Michigan State fans should expect a significant jump in that area. Joe had one of the higher rates in that structure during his time here. I think their cover 3 usage will probably go down a little bit. So you'll see a little zone pressure in some cover 3, but I would expect that to probably go down a little bit. Hazelton stunted so much. They ran a lot of defensive line stunts. You'll see it from Joe a little bit, but Michigan State had one of the higher rates in the country last year. It won't probably be that high under Joe. He'll use it a little bit, but the simulated pressures is what I'm interested in. So simulated pressures, when you got a defensive lineman on the line of scrimmage, he drops in exchange for a second or third level defender. It's kind of a craze going throughout football recent years. Mike McDonald with Baltimore did a great job of using it in the NFL. If you watch games closely, you'll see it. Oregon State, Jonathan Smith, what they did out there, they were one of the heaviest simulated pressure teams in the country. Joe Rossi ran them here, implemented them into the system with the personnel that he had when he could. Didn't do it hardly at all with Michigan State. Very low simulated pressure percentages. So I think you'll see more of those. Oregon State had cover 0 presentations where they'd have everybody on the line of scrimmage and bluff out into a different coverage. They had low cover 2 rates. So I think Minnesota will, Minnesota had a lot of cover 2 usage in their defense. So I think you'll see some of that to prevent the big play. But your Michigan State fans should be ready for disciplined defensive play and very good fundamentals. Joe is one of the best fundamental coaches I've been around. I've been around a lot of them, talked to a lot of people in football, and he's been one of the most impressive to me.
Daniel House, Gophers guru. Is there anything in particular, Daniel, that you've got available for everyone this week?
Well, just right up on the tight ends on the website right now, talking about the future of that position group, the versatility that's required now that Brevin Spanford will be going to the NFL, what fans can expect from that position group, and then working on a few studies that'll be coming out eventually here on Gopher football, some national stuff regarding a few things that I've been studying film on over the past few months. So there'll be some stuff to check out soon on that. But day-to-day content and roster analysis, everything you're looking for there. It's a little bit of basketball coverage as the basketball team's been playing while dabbling into that. So check it out, gophersguru.com.
All right, Daniel. Thank you so much for stopping by as always. Always good to hear from you.
Always love talking ball. Season will be here before we know it. We got a little time though.
Sporkle. Give it a shot.
Sporkle, I'll let you know. I'll give you some feedback
Just,
next time.
Don't blame me if it's 3 a.m. and you're hooked on it and you're still quizzing yourself. Yes.
All right. I'll provide an update next time.
Thanks,
Mark.
Daniel.
See ya.
All right. Minnesota football with Daniel House. We have left the link in the chat. Of course, I would love to talk to all of you, but if not, hey, we will just talk ourselves. And I do see some interesting comments and back and forth in the chat as always. Maybe we could do a Big Ten live show and prohibit Ohio State, Michigan talk for the entire 2 hours. Maybe no one would show up if we did that. I don't know. Yes, we'll talk about Keon Sabb in just a second. Ed? Yes, he's a good safety. I don't know why he's leaving. You would think that he would have a spot there to continue to play in a high-level system, but I don't know what's going on with the young man, but he has decided to move on. So we'll hit that real quick. What can you say? IMG Academy out of the state of Florida. He was a top 10 safety. He was a top 90 to 100 player coming out of high school and had a productive year last year, 28 tackles, 2 picks, and he doesn't mind hitting anyone. He will hit. So Keon Sabb is entered the transfer portal. Also, I believe here in the next several days, I will look over the UCLA roster, some of their more talented and productive players, because you got to think that they will be a prime candidate for rating the roster as UCLA moves on from Chip Kelly to Sean Foster. We'll see if he can maintain their talent base. A lot on defense, especially, but also on offense. I think UCLA had trouble scoring at times, but the quarterback play, of course, was substandard. But UCLA was pretty potent on offense statistically, but it was kind of uneven all season. D-Rock's here. D-Rock Irish, breaking up the Big Ten party. We appreciate you being here. Cheating. Wonder who he could be talking about. All we do is win, win, win. Ohio State is all in on a backup quarterback from the state of Kansas. Maybe that's the latest in recruiting scuttlebutt out there for 2025, that Ohio State's in on a backup quarterback from the state of Kansas. That certainly can't refer to their quarterback situation right now. Yeah, don't really understand that. Their current quarterback is obviously the guy that's expected to be the starter. Played in the state of Kansas as the starting quarterback for 2.5 seasons. So we always make everyone be accurate here at the Voice of College Football. Yes, Moose, Ohio State, only 8 players invited to the NFL Combine. That is, of course, a good thing for Buckeye fans, because they could have had a zillion at the NFL Combine, but those guys decided to come back and play at Ohio State. So that's a good thing, because Ohio State, despite having the best record by far in the Big Ten over the past decade or so, it's not even close. Ohio State, of course, has flooded the NFL Combine with the most players. That's not even close. Or the NFL itself with the most players from the Big Ten. We only spit facts, folks. As I also noticed that somebody was pointing out that Minnesota is only one national championship behind Ohio State, much like Michigan is only a couple Big Ten championships behind Ohio State since Ohio State joined the Big Ten. Michigan, with these 3 consecutive Big Ten championships, they're getting close to Ohio State since Ohio State joined the Big Ten. So I'm full of information, facts and information. That's my thing. I am full of facts and information and insight. Yes. Stephen, sometimes I just have to do it. And I certainly take Buckeye fans to task and Ohio State to task and lift up the maize and blue when it warrants it. I just spit facts. That's all I'm about. And I'm an equal opportunity offender. Equal opportunity offender. So I will offend everyone. Michigan has certainly dominated this series for the last 3 years. Michigan has dominated this series against Ohio State for the last 3 years. I really can't speak to before that about Michigan dominating any part of the series, at least overall. Okay. Let's get to, what do we got here? D-Rock Irish. What are you talking about here? Whoa, where are we? Don't need one-year wonder programs. Look at season 2 and then debate. I don't know who we're talking about there. I spit facts also. Most Ohio State fans don't want to hear it. Yeah, Moose, spit those facts from the last 3 years because they are definitely on the side of Michigan. Michigan has taken Ohio State to the woodshed 3 years in a row and been the better team, better program, better all that. Brian's going back to 1976, 77, 78. There you go. There's a 3-game winning streak as well for the Maize and Blue. They also won more than that in a row in 88, 89, 90, 91. That's 4 in a row, right? 88, 89, 90, 91. And then a tie, and then they won again. Yeah, John Cooper started 0-5-1 against Michigan. Just like Jim Harbaugh started, what, 0-5 against the Buckeyes. Oh, Elvis trivia. Please, Colby. Please, don't even tempt me. I'll take this show right off the rails. We will no longer be the Big Ten live show. James, I'm seeing some names we haven't seen before. So we got a light crowd tonight, but seeing some names that we typically don't see. So I'm going to leave the link in the chat. We do not have our call-in line tonight. And this happens every time I think about starting to explain something that I think, you know what, that's best left for the State of the Voice of College Football show that we're going to do in about a month. A lot later than typical, but there's a reason why we're going to wait about a month. So James says here, you made the defend the champions took the highest state to the world for the last 3 years. Todd says, recently, Michigan has owned Ohio State and owning the country last year. That's facts. Yes, over the last 3 years, Michigan has been, they've been better against Ohio State. You know, if you take away the Ohio State game, then, and hang with me, I know everyone's going to laugh. That's a Michigan fan when I say you obviously can't take away that game. That game is the biggest game of the year. But Ohio State, other than the Michigan game, has been right with Michigan. They've basically been equal aside from that game, but Michigan dominated the fourth quarter in 21 and 22 close competitive games that Michigan trampled the Buckeyes in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, last year, if you're talking about owning, that's not a real accurate word. I would certainly not consider or describe any of anybody's wins against another team by that much to be owning. But when you tack it on to the other 2 wins as a 3-year evaluation, sure, go with it, owning. But yes, it is, from a debate standpoint, it's nice that Michigan has finally won some games because now we've got a bit of a debate. Even though Ohio State has crushed Michigan statistically for decades in terms of winning percentage, NFL draft picks, major bowl wins, Rose Bowl wins, conference titles, all those things, AP, top 5 finishes, top 10 finishes. Now with Michigan winning 3 consecutive games and being winning a national championship, which none of us expected. Yeah, so all we do is win, win, win. The last 2 to 3 years matter, yes. And all-time matters, yes. And so does everything in between, matters. And again, Michigan owns the last 3 years, and Michigan owns, well, they don't have a better football program all time. They have more wins in the series because they started playing football sooner. But Ohio State certainly has a more impressive list of accomplishments all time. Brian, Mark, getting a little feisty. You should bring that attitude to the day's show. I bring whatever attitude comes with me. You know, he hits me up on Tuesday afternoon. Maybe that's not my feisty time during the week. Number one. Number two, kind of tough to get feisty when Michigan is rolling. And also that I just answer the questions. So I don't steer the conversation. But Brian, if we wanted to go in different directions, and Brian, you know what? You should go on Steve's channel. And I don't know if he reviews or somebody else reviews comments and they take any kind of suggestions or recommendations or requests. But you should request us to do a debate on all-time ranking of the two programs. I would love that debate because I think it's fairly easy to win from my standpoint. And when it comes to all this cheating business, I don't know. I don't know. So I take it and I understand that if I was an Ohio State fan and that's all I didn't do this, I don't know how I would act as one of you guys out there. But sure, you're going to take the cheating and that's going to be your ammunition. My ammunition would still be all the things that Ohio State has over Michigan all time. And it's a zillion things. It's really not that close. All right, Will, firing up these Michigan fans, telling them that sorry, but the all-time comparison, it's really not that debatable. But I don't know why you're calling, Will.
Ever since the past. Do you want to look at the Big Ten non-conference schedule?
Yes, let's do that. Let's call them up here. Who do you want to call up first? I'll pull them up here.
Well, the first one that's interesting to me is I guess LSU USC is the best week 1 game.
Oh, you're pulling up individual games. Okay, I was going to pull up schedules here. Okay, no, go to it. I'll just leave that alone then. LSU USC, yeah, playing in Vegas.
I feel like people are just writing off SC. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I have more faith in Miller Moss than most people do. Like, I feel like he was like a pretty decently highly rated recruit and he played well. Like, it's not like he was Rudy coming off the bench for SC. Like, he was like a 94 rated quarterback.
I am going to defer to Lincoln Riley that if he really knows what he's doing and if this is in his wheelhouse, he better know if Miller Moss can play.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, there you are.
All right, my phone went.
Okay. You got me now. I'm going to leave it up to Miller Moss, Will. Or I'm going to leave it up to Lincoln Riley to evaluate Miller Moss because that's his game. That's his deal. That's in his wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. And if USC is not going out to get a starting quarterback and they're leaving it up to Miller Moss, then that's Lincoln Riley's job. To me, that's his job, and that could be his job.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, maybe I don't know, like I do watch the USC show, but like if the USC defense is good, I mean, I don't know, maybe they'll be competitive.
Competitive meaning what? What's a good season for USC? What's competitive?
10-2, 9-3.
Okay.
I mean, they're not going to win every. I mean, I'll be shocked if the Trojans win every single one of their tough games, like LSU, Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame. So I'll give them 10-2. That's the ceiling.
All right, let's give it a look here. I think game number 1's a toss-up. They have a slight advantage at being played on the West Coast, but Vegas really likes LSU as a pretty solid favorite right now. So that's going to tell us a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The first 4 games, I'm even giving Wisconsin a pretty good shot to go out to the Coliseum and win.
There'll be a lot of Wisconsin fans there, like we've seen at the Rose Bowl, probably.
And so if they're 2-2 after 4 games, regardless of which 2 they lose, then that's pretty rough. They could be 4-0.
Mm-hmm.
I think most likely they're going to be 3-1. But if they're
I
2-2, then wow, then they've got Penn State coming up, and they could be 3-3 at that point. But they should be 6-3 at worst after 9 games. Then they've got Nebraska, UCLA, Notre Dame. So of course you're looking at a loss at the end of the year there. So that would be an 8-4 season. Yeah, I think 9-3 is in their range. Vegas only has them at 7.5 wins.
Ooh, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm putting some trust in that coaching staff. That I mean, I know Matt's excited about him, and I trust Matt's opinion on USC. So,
yeah, because unlike our buddy Tim, who's a homer, we know it. So this is from On3 here. So we'll give them their cred here. Yes, USC at 7.5. That, yeah, Matt tells it like it is, and he certainly is not afraid to pile on USC if he thinks so. And I don't know. I don't remember hearing anything out of Matt in terms of a prediction yet. I'm certainly not making any predictions yet.
7.5 seems low.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, I mean, I think they can win that game against LSU. It just depends. Like, I mean, that's my Aaron Miller Moss. I feel like that's a pretty even. And then I'll just be like, how good is much better is that line, the defense for the teams? Ooh.
Now, if Rutgers starts winning out there,
then that's the alarm bells ringing.
Okay, what is the game that USC could lose that they shouldn't lose? Let me see. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I could see them losing to not really Rutgers, but maybe at Maryland.
At Maryland could be interesting.
Yeah.
The Wisconsin home game or at Maryland could be interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe Nebraska.
Maybe
I
Nebraska.
mean, if Nebraska's actually good. I mean, if Nebraska actually takes the step forward with
that
they usually do with Matt Rule, that Matt Rule teams usually do.
Yep.
Oh, I remember that. One of my first college football memories is that home and home that they had with Pete Carroll against Nebraska. Those were ugly.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They were.
Let's look at week 2. Week 2. I don't think there's much and good. Oh, Texas, Michigan, week 2. That's the big week 2 game for the Big Ten.
Our buddy Matthew thinks Texas is going to roll. He just, well, I shouldn't say it that way. I don't want to put words in his mouth. He's very confident, but he thinks Michigan's got a shot. But Vegas has a 2.5 point spread on that game
for Michigan, right?
For Texas.
Okay, for Texas. I mean, it all depends how good Alex Orji is, because we don't know. We haven't seen much of him at all.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen the guy throw a pass.
Yeah, I haven't either. So that spring game is going to tell us a lot more.
But again, I don't know that I had seen Justin Fields throw a pass before he came to Ohio State. He used to get into those games for Georgia, and they would just run draw plays.
Yeah.
They just had no trust in him.
Mm-hmm.
Things worked out.
Yeah, things worked out, of course, for the Buckeyes. I don't know enough about Texas, really, who's coming in and to become because they're losing Worthy, they're losing Mitchell, right, at receiver, or are they coming back?
Yeah, they're losing both of those guys. I'm almost positive, but they pick up Isaiah Bond, the Alabama wideout.
Yeah, who caught the 4th and 30 pass.
Yeah. Let's see here from Texas. Let's see what the transfer portal looks like.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up Amari Nyblack, the tight end from Bama, Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Blackshear, another Alabama product at linebacker, Silas Bolden, wide receiver from Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Moore, who played the edge. He was one of the most productive edge rushers from Texas San Antonio. He had like 14 or 15 sacks. He was close to leading the nation. They picked him up. And Andrew Makuba, the safety from Clemson.
Mm.
Who have they lost that matters? Malik Murphy. Not that he was going to play, but Isaiah Nair never did anything for them, but he was good at Wyoming, and he went to Nebraska. And that's really it. Jalen Catalan didn't do anything for them, but he was really good at Arkansas. He went to Nevada, Las Vegas.
So yeah, it's a whole new group. I mean, I don't know if they'll be as good as last year, but they're still going to be pretty formidable.
I would lean Texas 60-40 right now. Maybe a little less than that. 55-45.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the thing that helps, like, with going, I mean, Michigan fans aren't gonna like this, but like, it doesn't, the way that Michigan Stadium's kind of made, like, it doesn't get that loud in there. That's what I heard. So that'll help the Longhorns. Of course, we have Duke Northwestern. That'll be fun.
Yeah, they've just decided that they're playing every year.
We get to see Malik Murphy against a real defense.
Yeah. I think that they've only missed one game going back to something like 2015.
Wow. I mean, I guess they're the two best secular private schools of college football. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Tony would be able to come up with another answer.
Yeah.
Nobody
else in week 2?
Iowa State, Iowa.
Oh, of course.
I gotta admit, that game's usually kind of hard to watch.
You don't like watching that game?
I mean, not much. I mean, it's just not much offense.
Okay. I mean, I usually watch Iowa State. That's usually on my docket. Tell Corey that. Call him up. Let him know it's going to be tough to watch. You're probably going to be more inclined to watch Duke and Northwestern play.
Week 1 was Penn State, West Virginia, but I don't know. Like, maybe that'll be interesting because it's in Morgantown. Hopefully for Mountaineer fans.
Yeah, that could be tricky for Penn State.
And then week 4, Michigan State, Boston College. Oh, man.
That brings back memories of, I'm sure everyone's thinking the same thing, of the 2007 Champ Sports Bowl.
BC, that was when BC was good, right?
Matt Ryan against
Brian Hoyer or
Brian
Drew
Hoyer.
Stanton?
It was Hoyer. Yep.
Yeah. That was D'Antonio's first year.
Yeah.
I believe.
BC won 24-21.
Oh, okay. Rutgers VT will be interesting.
Yeah, they played last year. Rutgers took care of them, but have to go to Lane Stadium this time.
Lane Stadium with Kyron Jones starting. Purdue, Oregon State will be interesting. That'll be good. I'll watch it. That game will be fun.
Purdue is playing Notre Dame and Oregon State back-to-back. That's what they did to themselves.
I guess they don't want to make a bowl. UCLA, LSU.
USC LSU. Yeah, that's the one right there.
That could get ugly.
Oh, wait a minute. Who?
UCLA and LSU.
Oh, UCLA and LSU in Death Valley. Yeah.
Oh man. Oof. That could be rough. I was so surprised. I remember I was so shocked when UCLA won in 2021 over LSU.
Yeah, a lot of people
But
were.
I mean, we didn't know how bad that LSU team was going to be.
Yeah. And didn't know necessarily. Well, I guess at that point we should have known how good Zach Charbonnet was going to be.
Mm-hmm. And then we don't have any other out-of-conference games besides Fresno State, UCLA, Notre Dame, and LSU. Now, Fresno State could definitely beat UCLA.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's UCLA's big finish to the season. If UCLA is 3-8 or 4-7 at that point, who is going to be paying any attention to that game? They're playing their last game of the season against Fresno State.
Not only Fresno State fans. Yeah.
I am intrigued about UCLA, and I always am, because I just think that they should be better.
I mean, if they do what Northwestern does and like turn it around, good for them. I just don't see it.
Well, that's the trick to a turnaround, is most of us don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Will, I'm going to put you to the test.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I'm going to put you to the test on this one, because you're going to have to make some outlandish predictions here. We don't necessarily have to stay with the Big Ten, even though this is the Big Ten live show, but you could start with the Big Ten, or if there's another conference that you want to work on here, you got to give me a third of the teams in the conference have to have a significant win increase or decrease by 3 at least.
I'll go Nebraska, win increase by 3.
8-4. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm gonna go UCLA decrease.
Okay. 4-8.
I mean, I'll go Michigan down to 9-3.
Okay. You've got another obvious one out there. At least I think it's obvious. I think you'll agree. Think along the Michigan line.
Michigan State increase?
No, somebody that's connected to Michigan in a couple different ways. Anyway, go through the Big Ten and you'll find them. I think it's pretty obvious that if they don't decrease by at least 3, then they've had a great season.
Oh, Washington.
Yeah. So 9-3 for Washington at best. There's 4, right? Okay. Anybody else?
Maybe Michigan State improves. I don't know. I don't know how good Jonathan Smith. Yeah. Jonathan Smith could get to 8, maybe. I'm just because I'm high on Jonathan Smith as a coach.
Yeah, I think Michigan State did about as well as they could right there. Scott says maybe Northwestern goes down to 4. I guess that's what he's saying. Maybe.
That could happen.
That could.
Do you think that PJ Fleck's on the hot seat at all?
I think he could be. I think if they go win 4 or 5 games, it's possible.
Him, and then if Ohio State doesn't beat Michigan, Ryan Day. That's sort of the 2 ones that stand out to me in the Big Ten.
So if Ryan Day goes 11-1 and loses to Michigan, he's going to get fired.
I mean, if they don't, well, I just think that Ohio State. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe
I keep hearing this,
that,
and this is a new world starting this year. it's going to depend on that playoff. That playoff is going to determine if Ryan Day keeps his job, not the Michigan game.
Well, I was saying both. If he loses the Michigan game and doesn't make it out of the final 8, maybe final.
Okay, I'll half agree with that. That
Yeah.
if they have a great season and they go 11-1 or 12-0, beat Michigan, go to the playoff, get upset, he's not going to get fired for, let's say, winning the Big Ten or going to the Big Ten championship game, beating Michigan, getting upset in the playoff. People aren't going to be happy, but he'll keep his job. But also, if they go 10-2, 11-1, lose to Michigan, make the playoff and make a deep run in the playoff, say they go to the national championship game after they lose to Michigan, he's not losing his job.
Yeah. I mean, I was saying lose to Michigan and don't do well in the playoff. That's what I meant when I said that.
Okay. Because now losing that game is, if you're Ohio State and you continue to do what they should do, which I'll point this out for Michigan fans since they love when I make claims like this. Since 2011, Ohio State's worst season is 10-2 twice. And all the other seasons, they got 2 12-0 seasons, and the rest of them are 11-1. So after they've played, let's say, 2 or 3 games in the playoffs, that Michigan game is, I know it's so important, but it's going to be an NFL mentality.
I hate that.
But I hate it too. I don't like it. G Bama Boy says, Mark, they don't care. You can't lose to Michigan every year. Your rival, they don't care. I think he means that they don't care if Ohio State's successful in the playoffs if they lose to Michigan. I don't know.
I don't agree with that.
They're not firing a coach that goes to the national championship game. That's just not going to happen.
That hasn't happened, has it? I believe not.
No.
Yeah, no.
And maybe I'm wrong. I haven't scanned history, but please, folks, in the chat, do one of 2 things. Let us know of somebody who's been fired after coming close to a national championship, aside from a scandal. I don't even know when that's happened. And number 2, give me the coach who has as good a winning percentage as Ryan Day, who's been fired. That person doesn't exist either.
I can't think of anything.
But yeah, if they go 10-2, they lose to Michigan and lose their first playoff game. Or even if they maybe win one playoff game, if it's if they get into the 5-12 game and they're playing Tulane and they win that game, then they lose the next game. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I agree. That Oregon game is going to be a heck of a game.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. So what about Notre Dame?
I mean, I think we have to at least make the top 4, or the season's very disappointing. I'm hoping for 12-0 or 11-1, get the 5 seed, beat the Group of 5 champ, and then beat the Big 12 champ, and then compete. Don't get blown out. Compete in the Final 4. That's my minimum standard for the season.
Your minimum is to get to the Final 4.
With this team, I think it should be. I mean, this is the most talented Notre Dame team, at least since 2006. I feel like at every position, if you break it down.
Wow.
Player for player, I feel like it's the most talented.
Will, I understand you're not hearing every word out of my mouth every day, but when you check in from time to time, am I ever unfair to Notre Dame? Has there been any time that you thought, okay, Mark, you're laying it on Notre Dame a little hard?
I mean, you don't have to talk about it again and again, how much better Ohio State's been since 1993 than Notre Dame, but I feel like you maybe overdo that a tad bit. But you're telling the truth, but it's like, you don't have to be that blunt.
Okay. I'll lay off for a while. You know why I laid on that for so I was
No.
so passionate about that is because I had to hear from these Notre Dame fans the entire off season.
Mm.
And it wasn't like you. It
Mhm.
wasn't like you coming on here being, hey, I love our team. I love this. I love that. Ohio State's really good, but I think we can beat them.
Mhm.
I know we got a shot, which of course they had a shot. They came that close to
Yeah.
winning. Like, I'm not denying that in any, it's not like Ohio State
Mhm.
went in there and rolled by
Mhm.
any stretch. Those teams were dead even that night. But most people weren't like you. Most
Mhm.
Notre Dame fans were telling me about how much better they were and that they were just and they were
I mean,
guaranteeing a win, and
every
that's
Ohio
what
State
wore on
outlet
my
was,
nerves for
I
months and
mean, I
months.
think part of it's like not you, but Ohio State outlet. Any Ohio State outlets were saying the opposite. But
Well, yeah, I can understand you guys getting tired of seeing
yeah.
Ohio State people in the chat saying,
Mhm.
we're going to win this game like 42 to
Mhm.
10. Like, I saw ridiculous scores all over the place from Ohio State fans.
Mhm.
Sure,
Mhm.
I get it.
I
I
mean, I feel
went,
like that's the vocal minority too. I mean, I feel like
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I went on John Kennedy's show, and
Yeah,
those
I
people
saw.
were
Yeah. Mhm.
brutal, man. They
They're
were.
so negative though. Like when it's just Notre Dame people on there, they're like it's so negative. I don't know. Yeah. Which is
So
the thing.
Chief says, Mark acting like Ohio State fans aren't the most arrogant on earth. After I just made the statement that there were tons of Ohio State
Yeah.
fans saying that they're going to win by 5 touchdowns against Notre Dame, and I thought that was ridiculous. They're good, though, so they can back it up. Well,
Mhm.
I don't know, Chief. I have not taken a poll to rank and rate the most arrogant fans. Understand that the most arrogant fans, it would only make sense, would root for the best teams. So I
Mhm.
would think Alabama would have arrogant fans, fill in the blank. How arrogant have Michigan fans been for the last
Mhm.
few months and toward Ohio State fans for the last 3 years? Of course.
Mhm.
Were they arrogant like that 5 years ago? No. So it kind of goes with the territory.
Mhm. But mm, yeah, I mean, I've always felt like Ohio State fans were the most arrogant fans. I mean, not you, but I mean, they have a reason to be though. So.
And if that's your experience, that's completely valid. I'm just saying I don't know. But it
Mhm.
would only make sense that the most successful teams would have the most arrogant fans.
Mhm.
I'm not expecting to run into arrogant Purdue fans. Like,
I mean,
I
Purdue. If you're a Purdue basketball fan, maybe, but like,
well, sure, a
you're
Purdue
Purdue.
basketball fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
But
sure.
no. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, thank you, Erica. I try not to
Mhm.
be arrogant, but
Mhm.
yeah, sometimes I get a little fanish.
I agree with J.K. Marshall. Florida fans they're interesting because they feel like it's still 2008 and it's not.
Mm.
It's strange. Florida fans are a strange breed.
Now, this I can't imagine. Aaron says Iowa fans are arrogant.
Yeah,
I
he's
think
being
he's just
funny.
poking Erica, maybe.
Yeah. Mhm. SEC fans in general are arrogant, but I
Yeah,
mean, they have a reason to. Even though some, like our friend Jareel MVP, it's not their team that's doing the winning, but.
yeah, they are.
Mhm.
They are at that.
Mhm.
So big year for the Irish. D
Yeah.
Rock's going to be happy. Michael's not in here tonight, but it was funny because I think it was this guy, Michael Campbell. I don't
Yeah.
know why he's got to tag me on all these tweets he sends
Yeah.
that
He's
I
a
don't care
character.
about,
He's a
but
character.
it was so funny. There's him, and there's this Arizona fan that always tags me on everything on Twitter. And then they send me DMs. And I said to both of them recently, like, send me all the DMs you want. Just don't expect me to respond. I don't pay attention to them. Whatever, do whatever you want, but just don't expect me to respond. And then I said, why don't you so? this guy, this Arizona fan, was having issues with Matt and with Tim, but he's sending me a DM, and I said, why don't you go hit up Matt and Tim? And he said, because they blocked me.
Every time have you ever been on Twitter Spaces, Mark? Or do you know what they are?
I've never started one myself, but I've had people invite me on them. Yes.
Every time I go and see what an opposing fan base is saying on their Twitter space and they let other people in, Michael always goes on, and I'm like, Michael, shut up, bro. Like, you are painful to listen to every time.
That's great.
Yeah. But did you see the Irish extended Al Golden? So that's good.
Okay.
Got him and Mike Denbrock locked up for a while. So
okay. All right.
Pretty positive development. YouTube live shows. Yeah, they're generally, the audience on YouTube live shows is better than Twitter Spaces. I agree, Jason. Yeah.
All right, Will. Anything else, man?
Nope. Just wanted to check in. I mean, usually it's tough for me to get on these shows, but my plan's canceled, so definitely wanted to check in, see what's going on.
You had a flight tonight.
Well, no, I have an event usually.
Okay.
Or a game. Yeah.
Very good. Well, I hope everything's going well. Appreciate the call.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, Will. Thanks for checking in. We'll see you. Our buddy Will there. All right, so back to the win totals, and we did a video post on this the other day. So here we are with Ohio State, Oregon, 10.5, Michigan, 9.5, Penn State, 9.5. Those are going to be tough to navigate. I don't think there's anything obvious there. Sometime in the summer, I will give my recommendations. I am no Steve Dace when it comes to that, so check out Steve's. We'll probably have him on sometime in the summer, and he'll lay out his over-unders because his win totals are exceptional. 22-12 comes to mind as being his record at one point, and I'm okay at it. I don't have any formula. I just kind of look at, and if something stands out to me, like bam, USC 7.5, and then I think, okay, let's look at the schedule. Let's look at a few other things. And now with the transfer portal being what it is, I'm not going to go out there and make any selections right now. And I checked out the videos from the last couple of years that I did and live streams on the win totals and my predictions and my recommendations, and those were in May and June. So we will do the same this year. But I got to say that USC at 7.5 stands out to me. Nebraska at 7.5. Not that they can't get there, but I just think that for them to get to 8, I've got to see this happen once. It almost seems like another lifetime ago that Nebraska was going 8-4. They've been so bad for so long. Iowa at 7.5. That Iowa is not going to win 8 games. The same thing happened last year. Vegas gave Iowa 7.5, and they won 10 games. And I guess you guys can't see this, can you? Yes, you can. Okay, just checking. And so those 3 stand out in terms of that's where I'm going to go down a path to say, okay, I'm going to start looking at the schedule and really looking at personnel gains and losses. USC, Nebraska, Iowa. And really on the downside, I can't see anybody who's going to jump up. Maybe I have faith that Minnesota is going to win 5 games. Maybe I have faith that Purdue is going to win 5 games, but they've got to play Oregon State on the road and Notre Dame non-conference. So they're going to lose most likely those games and only win 1 game non-conference. So they're going to have to go 4-5 in the Big Ten. That's probably not going to happen. So forget Purdue. I'm going to be looking at USC, Nebraska, and Iowa. Those three are my leans right now. Now, Vegas, in terms of the payout, even though they've got Ohio State and Oregon both 10.5, it's obvious from the payout that they're leaning heavily Ohio State to the over because they're paying out the under. And for Oregon, they're leaning the under because they're heavily paying out the over. So we will get you our recommendations. You know, if you would have bet $100 on all my money line predictions and also all of my picks against the spread, I am not advocating that you risk your money. I'm just saying you would have made like over $8,000. Over $8,000. Jackson, thank you so much for this. So we will talk more about this during the State of the Voice of College Football show in about a month, but we got a Facebook page. Truth be known, we don't do much with it, but would you please head on over there and like it, because we will at some point. So we got a Facebook page, Voice of College Football. Thank you for that, Jackson. And also we got Twitter, of course. Follow me at MarkRogersTV on Twitter. I may make you think. I may make you cry. I may make you pissed off. I may hopefully make your life a little bit better. That would be better than all the other things I just mentioned, hopefully on Twitter. But I poke a few fan bases on Twitter. So join me on Twitter, X, and then the Instagram as well. That's another thing that we've got to ramp up is the Instagram. So follow me on Instagram. Again, you're not going to see anything there phenomenal. You will find a video on there on Instagram. I don't know how old it is, of me doing one of my favorite exercises. So I'm sure that that's just going to cause droves of people to head on over to Instagram and check that out. But Jackson, we always appreciate you promoting what we do here. And again, these are three areas that we need to do much better in going forward. I'm pretty engaged on Twitter, but the Instagram, I have an issue with because I have to do everything on my laptop. On my phone, I don't have, I'm not going to go into it, but it's just difficult to really get into that on my phone. But I'm hearing that Instagram is the place to be. So that could be our next venture here at the Voice of College Football. Maybe I'll try to go to a bunch of different stadiums. Maybe, depending on how this lines up, although the drive would be brutal, based on where my life may be taking me, I'm thinking about a few spring practices that I may check out. Go to a spring practice on like a media day when they allow media, and then show up and get some interviews, go to spring practice at a few locations. Thank you, Jackson. Let's get to 10,000 on Twitter. That would be awesome. Also on Instagram. Thank you for that. So that's the rundown on the win totals. Now we've looked at the schedule. So if anybody wants to call me and we can breeze through your schedule and look at it and size it up for an over-under on the wins, hey, why not? Also, keep in mind that we've got a USC show coming up in a half hour. And so we've got Tim, we've got Matt from Trojans Wire, and that USC show and that USC channel, they are knocking it dead over there. So check out the USC channel. And keep in mind that we've got Big Ten shows like all week. We do a USC show every Monday night, 11 Eastern. We've got an Iowa show and Nebraska and Michigan on Tuesday. So I do the Iowa show with Corey Bratta, and then the Nebraska show with Justin Adams. That's at 5:30 Eastern and 7 o'clock Eastern on those channels. Then we've got the Michigan show with John D'Adamo at 8 o'clock Eastern time on the Michigan channel. And then we've got the Ohio State show. That's every Wednesday. And Mike, thank you so much for that, Mike. That's very kind of you. Appreciate the contribution. That will go to a good cause. That will probably be, since I'm eating healthier cereal, it costs more. So there we go. Thank you for that. We've got SEC and Big 12 channels as well. Those links are in the description section of every video. But again, we've got 5 different Big 10 team shows each week, plus the Big 10 live show. And if all works out well, we may be starting an SEC show in March. I just posted another TV ratings breakdown that is a mammoth synopsis of a lot of facts and figures involving networks and conferences. And we will do our coaches rankings soon. So we will get to that. We'll knock out our coaches rankings, our program rankings. Of course, we do those each and every off season. Program rankings are coming, and we'll do a pre-spring, way too early top 25. We'll do a pre-spring top 25 list as well. How many of you know what Sporkle is? Anybody in the chat, you included, Mike, know what Sporkle is? Has anybody heard of this? A-Shrop. Huh? What? Huh? Sporkle. No? Okay, who likes trivia? Let's see what we got here on Sporkle. Something reminded me of Sporkle this afternoon, just minutes before I came on here. And I thought, let's introduce everyone to Sporkle. But I haven't played it in quite some time. And so what you got here is, so for example, what we have here, you can go to your favorite topic, whatever your favorite topic is. And most likely there's going to be not one Sporkle quiz, there are going to be 50 Sporkle quizzes. If you're a New York Yankees fan, there are probably 75 different Sporkle quizzes for you as a New York Yankees fan. If you're a Taylor Swift fan, who knows? At this point, there's probably 1,000 Sporkle quizzes on Taylor Swift, you Swifties, and so forth and so on. So I lost track of this site because, and it's a good thing that I did, because I became addicted, because I am the nerd that likes to show that they know every Penn State lineup since the year 2000, those kind of things. Here we've got Penn State Nittany Lions football opponents. Now, I did not pull this up for any particular reason. I was not really singling out this particular quiz. I'd like to find one that's a little bit better than this one, but just to show you how you play this thing. Let's see. We'll do this one. So what you got here, maybe I could find a better one, but we'll start with this one and see if we got another one. Maybe you guys could request one and we could see if we could find it. So what we've got here is, I didn't even know what I was looking up here. This is Penn State football opponents since 2000. And does this take us all the way up to 2011? Well, that's not very far. It says 2000 on, but it's only 2000 to 2011. Okay, well, that's fine. So see here, you got 8 minutes. We've got 8 minutes to think of all these teams. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to play this little quiz. What I think I'm going to do, because I don't think you guys want to see like too much of the interior of my nose, is it's going to be much easier for me to type because I'm competitive. I don't want to sit here and not do as well as I could. So I'm going to bring down my laptop. And we are still awaiting the day when we will have our full setup with our audio board back and our camera and everything. We're just working off the webcam right now. for the last, year and a half. But anyway, so I'm going to play this. So what we're going to do, I think, is we'll put and you guys are going to be yelling at me at home what oh, you're not going to be able to see. All right. You guys are just going to have to put up with this, I think. Let's do this. Okay. So, are we ready? So let's get this banner off the screen. Let's move this up so you can still hear me. And you guys ready to roll here? Let's go. So we've got Penn State opponents from 2000 through 2011. We've got 8 minutes to play. Oh, and I get football scores here as well. Look at this. 2000, if you see that, in 2000, they lost their first game 29-5. That was to USC. I am almost positive that game was to USC. Then they lost 24-6 in 2000. They lost 24-6. They had a bad team that year, as you can see, 5-7. The 45-6 game, that's the Ohio State game right there. Anyway, we will get started on this. So we've got 8 minutes to find the 149 teams. So here we go. Is everyone ready? You guys are probably not even paying any attention in the chat. You guys are arguing about all-time Big Ten championships or something. All right, here we go. Now I'm nervous because I'm going to get scolded if I only get like 104. All right, here we go. That was easy. Okay. First, we got to pick out every team in the Big Ten for one thing. Oh, I forgot it was till 2011. I put Washington in because they played in the Fiesta Bowl in 17. Okay. Back to Michigan State. They played Florida State in the they obviously it's Wisconsin, it's Iowa, it's Northwestern, it's Illinois, it's Indiana, Maryland. Oh, they didn't play Maryland during that decade. Michigan State, I got Penn State. Who am I missing? Purdue, Minnesota. I can't spell it. That's another thing. You got to be able to think. Who have they played in the MAC? I knew they played Toledo. There it is, 24-6. That's who I actually had that thought. They lost that game to Toledo. Okay, anyway, they played Miami. There we go, 33-7. I remember that one. I saw that one. All right. They played Auburn in a bowl. I got to get the bowl games. Auburn, Tennessee, they played in a bowl game. 24-17, that was against Texas A&M. Yep. That Orange Bowl's Florida State. I thought I got that one. There it is. The other bowl games. Did I get everyone in the Big Ten? Oh, of course they play Boston College. They play West Virginia. No, they didn't play them. Syracuse, Pitt. Let's get some of the schools in the MAC, probably. Miami of Ohio? No. Bowling Green? No. Rutgers? No. They didn't play Rutgers during that decade. UMass? I can't spell it. Massachusetts. Delaware? I'm looking at these FCS scores, 67-7. That's got to be somebody. Nebraska, 31-35. Okay, let me look at some of these scores now. Oh, the Ticket City Bowl, that was Houston. I think I got all the bowl. Oh, they played LSU in a bowl game. All right, let me look at the rest of these games. I'm missing somebody in the Big Ten. Purdue, Northwestern, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I'm missing somebody? Okay. Let me start to look at some of these scores and see if I can remember some of these games. 59 zip. Oh, I know who they played. They played Alabama. Okay, now I got to think of who are some smaller schools in the East that they might have played. Oh, I know who they might have played. Virginia. Yep. They didn't play Virginia Tech. Anybody else in the ACC that they would have played? All right, 2011. Let me think of some of these games. 2010, I got 4 minutes, 44-14, 24 zip, 22-13, 31-17, 31-6. Let's say, I think there's somebody in the Big Ten that I'm missing. Because I see these scores in the middle of the season. I missed somebody bad in the Big Ten. Illinois, Northwestern, Indiana. I got all those teams. Rutgers, they weren't in the Big Ten yet. They didn't play Notre Dame in them. Yeah, they did. Those are the okay. They split with Notre Dame. You know what? We're just gonna start typing in teams now. They didn't play any of those teams. And I think there's somebody in the Big Ten because I see scores in the middle of the season there. So I'm thinking it's somebody in the Big Ten I'm missing that I forgot about. Okay, how about I think there's a bunch of FCS schools that I need to catch here. And every team I think of, I'm thinking they didn't play them. I don't think there's anybody else in the SEC that they played during this time. I can't remember them playing any of these teams. Stalled. They didn't play any of these. No. We're gonna see some like FCS teams pop up here. I got to get the rest of the teams maybe in the MAC. Did they play like Northern? They weren't in the MAC at that point. Did they play like Marshall? Who else was in the MAC at that time? Oh, Western Michigan. No. Central Michigan. There we go. Eastern Michigan. Buffalo. There we go. Who else did I not get? Ball State. Shoot. This is going to annoy me. I'm looking at these scores, and usually that triggers. They must have played somebody decent in 2011 to win 14-10, even though they weren't that good that year still. Yeah, I'm typing in a bunch of teams that I know they didn't play. Anybody in the Mountain West? Who else? That was too early to play like App State or somebody like that. Troy, they didn't play anybody like that. I'm going to be kicking myself because there's going to be some schools in the East that did they play Connecticut? There's going to be schools in the East that they played that I didn't get. I only got 10 seconds. Who'd they beat 67-7 in 2000? It's going to be like UMass. Louisiana Tech. I didn't even get Kent State. I thought of FIU. Why didn't I just type them in? I should have got Cincinnati. I was going through the MAC and I didn't even get Kent and Akron. That was dumb. That cost me about 3 or 4. Temple. Now that's the one that am really kicking myself. I should have got Temple. They used to play Penn State all the time, and you guys probably couldn't even see that. If we do that again, Uncle Rico, yes, Bishop, Sycamore, and Penn State always playing. Yeah, I tried UMass. UCF. I remember UCF and Penn State playing they played in Ireland. Now, was that during, I think that was around 2013 or 14. That was with Bill O'Brien. All right. Now Mark needs to do this for Ohio. He will get them all. Oh, I better get them all. I need to do this. I want to please Buffalo. Buffalo's there. We got Buffalo. You guys probably can't see this. I'm going to try to, if I do another one here, I'll blow it up. But as soon as I type something in, I bet it will downsize it again. Do you guys have a request? We don't have to do opponents. We can look up anything. This is Sporkle. We can look up, let's see. How about, where's the search? We can look up we got Will. Oh, it's a Big Ten show. I was going to put Notre Dame in there, but it's a Big Ten show. Let's put Michigan in there. I shouldn't just put Michigan because then we get Michigan football. Michigan football coaches since the year 2000 or since 1901. I know back to the late 40s. I know all those guys. And then I know Fielding Yost, and that's probably what I would get. Back to Benny Oosterbaan and then Fielding Yost. Let's see how many are there. So I would get all these back to 48, and then this would be hit or miss. Except for Fielding Yost has to be at 165. So the rest of them, those are easy. So you got Harbaugh. Can you guys see this? Yeah, okay. You've got, of course, Harbaugh, Hoke, Rich Rod, Carr. I was going to call him the drunk. Moeller. Yeah. I know back to 48, Schembechler. Yeah. Back to Oosterbaan, and then Fielding Yost is at 165. I don't know who these three are. I'm sure that I would recognize their names. Do you Michigan fans know who won 6 games and 9 games and 46 games? I'm sure he would. I'd probably get that one. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it is ad overload. I can't do anything about that. All right. So yeah. That's what we're looking at. So there's not as many as I thought there might be. See, if you look up, I bet the NFL, I bet if we looked up Cleveland Browns, there's a ton of them. No? I would do things like Cleveland Indians. Sorry, I'm not allowed to say that anymore, am I? Oh, see, there's a lot more than that. So it must not, the search. Oh, there's more. Maybe there was more Michigan football ones. Okay. Here we go. There are the Michigan schedules since 2000, which isn't that the same as Michigan football opponents? There's the roster. Can you name the Michigan football roster? Good Lord. I should be able to, but I'm going to kick myself if I do that. Should we do the Michigan football roster? Man, I would have done better a month ago than I would now. Fritz Chrysler. He's the guy with 46 wins, Keith. Fielding Yost would work in a mine during the off season. D-Rock is keeping us with the current football news at Notre Dame. Appreciate that. Sorry that I had to inundate everyone with so many ads. I can't control that. Ohio State fans think college football began in 1948. Or maybe only since the Big Ten started in since they joined the Big Ten, since Ohio State joined the Big Ten. Heisman winners, yes, that is easy work. I know the Heisman winners back to the late 50s pretty easily in a row. I can get all the Heisman winners back to... Yes, that upset me, Will, that I forgot about Temple. I was thinking East Coast, East Coast, East Coast. Temple beat Christian Hackenberg's team pretty badly. What, 2012, 13? No, maybe that was James Franklin's first year he lost to Temple. What is this, Erica? Ask Jeeves? Is that something like the same thing? Did Mark find this with... No, I did not find this. I've known about this for years, and I just forgot about it until this afternoon. And then I thought, there's not much going on. Need to have John do the roster. Why don't I challenge myself, even though this might be embarrassing since I'm supposed to know everything, and I'll do the Michigan roster, and then I'll kick myself because there are definitely going to be guys that I forgot. The entire Michigan roster. Ooh, there we go. Got 20 minutes. Are we going to sit here for 20 minutes and watch me do the Michigan roster? Well, I guess we are. You guys can't even see that, though. So let me, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to blow it up. But I think as soon as I click on it, it's just going to bounce it back down. Okay, we'll try it. All right. I wonder if I can type in last names. That would be so much easier. I hope I don't have to. If I could put last names in, that would be phenomenal. We'll see. Here we go. Oh, I'm going to get so worn down. 20 minutes. Okay, we'll try it anyway. Let's see if I can put in a last name. Yes! All right. Will Johnson. Yeah, Sandra still. Now you got to be able to type. You got to be able to spell, too. There we go. Mullings, yeah. Oh, I already got. Oh, well. Oh Lord. No, I know who I'm thinking of. Who's the punt returner? 82. Samaje Morgan. Now this is where I forget offensive linemen that I've known for forever because I tend to forget these guys. Let's type in the obvious names, see if some of those are around. No, didn't get lucky in that. How about Jack? How about everybody's favorite? Isn't that how he spells his name? Huh? Alex Orgy. How do you spell it? Or is that it? Huh? Oh well. We got and we got and we've got and we've got defensive line. I should be able to who's the stud in the oh my word. The defensive line should be easy. Why am I forgetting names? How about no, Zach Center. Okay. How about also on the offense? How about all the guys they got from Arizona State and from Stanford? Ladarius Henderson and the two offensive linemen from Stanford. I can't remember their names. And I'm also forgetting some edge rushers that I know. And oh shoot, their best D tackle. He's coming back. All right. I got to start to picture guys. Plus their fourth string running back. I remember him. He got into a game in 22 and fumbled, and then they yanked him. I should be going to wide receiver too, because I put in Cornelius Johnson and I didn't put in Roman Wilson. I still can't believe I can't. Really? Huh? Can you guys see this? I'm going to check this. Yeah, you guys can see this. Okay, I'm kicking myself about the two Stanford offensive linemen. What are their names? You guys are probably putting in the chat, and I can't remember. And then their defensive front. Oh, you had got Kenneth. There we go. Josiah Stewart, Jalen Harrell, some other edge rushers, and okay, Michael Morris. I got 3 corners and a safety. I'm forgetting about. Oh, who was their kicker from Louisville? Turner. Now I'm getting, yeah, I still have 15 minutes. And you guys, I can't see the chat anyway, so you guys can type whatever you want. Okay, if I get a couple more, I got 3 linebackers. If I get a couple more secondary players and can get these offensive linemen, who's the Carson Barnhart? All right. The 2 linemen from Stanford, Nugent. Yep. Drake Nugent. And there's another one they got from Stanford. If I can remember, I got 2 tight ends, but I do know the 3rd tight end too. If I can get a couple edge rushers and the other lineman that I'm thinking of, I would be fine. I'd be okay with that. If I could get to 30 or so. I don't remember the punter's name, and he's really good, but I don't remember his name. He's got a really He's got a short last name, doesn't he? Crap. What is his name? And I should be able to get the four in Alex Orgy. I don't know why he's not coming up. Can I get out? That's how you spell Alex Orgy, right? What am I not getting here? There's like some trick to his name, right? There shouldn't be. I think we all know how to spell the word. I thought that's how he. No. How am I not spelling his name right? Yeah, their fourth running back. Yeah. I can picture him. I got to get him. And well, they had some wide receivers. They had who's the wide receiver that made the big play against Alabama that didn't play much this year, but he had the big play against Alabama. Shoot. Can't think of his name. I would like to get the punter. I would like to get the wide receiver I'm thinking of. I would like to get the other Stanford offensive lineman. I would like to get the other edge rusher that I'm thinking of who's really good. And the other who forced the pick against Penix. He's really good. He rushed him up the middle. I can't think of his name either. And I'm about to quit. And I'm going to give myself 29 at the very least because I'm not getting Alex Orgy. What's going on with that? They probably are just don't want to be, I don't know, taken off the internet or something. I don't know what their problem is. Maybe if I look at the positions, it'll help me. Or if, they got numbers here. I didn't see that. Okay, this might help me. 4, 10. Okay. Well, that's, I'm thinking of, I think 22. Okay. Yeah, the dude that made the big play against Alabama, his name's not coming to me, and I said it a zillion times. Actually, I named him as an X Factor before that game. Crap. Yeah, the defensive tackle group, that's embarrassing. That's not good. But I'm not thinking of those guys. Hmm. I don't know how I'm not spelling Alex Orgy correct. How about, let me think. They had the quarterback who had a really good spring game. I think he was fairly highly touted, but he's never going to play. Tyler Warren, something Warren. There's him. Let's try him. I don't think I got his first. Davis Warren. And again, how do you spell Alex Orgy? That's it, right? Double I. Oh, something like that. Oh, terrible. If I see, now I can finally see these numbers. That helps. I didn't know that there were numbers there. I know I can't think of his first name, but Dunlap, running back, and Benjamin Hall. There we go. The numbers help. I doubt if I'm going to get the fifth string running back. And I got, yeah, AJ Barner. I got 2 tight ends. I think I know a third. I think I know 83. Can we get this off the screen, please? And I know that, can you guys see this pretty well? Wide receiver, the guy that made the big play against Alabama. I know this is exciting at this point because I am stalled. Okay, what are our wide receiver numbers? We've got, oh, wait a minute. He's in the 80s, the guy that made the play against Alabama. Is that Morris? Nope. Tyler Morris, right? Tyler Morris? Yeah. No? How about Didn't I get that, everyone? Tyler Morris, right? They didn't take that one. They're not taking Orgy or Morris. Oh, there he is, Tyler Morris. I got that one. Okay, beautiful. Oh, I thought his number was in the 80s. Okay, we're good. I know so many more of these players, but shoot, if this was multiple choice, I think I could do better. I think I know the third. I know the third tight end, and I know some other offensive linemen. The other guy from Stanford. I thought they got 2 guys from Stanford. And I got Drake Nugent. I got Zach Zinter. I got Keegan. Oh, the offensive lineman who was the Indianapolis Colts, Randy Hinton's son, Miles Hinton. Okay. Miles Hinton. Got him. Somebody threw me $5. Thank you. We'll get to that. We've got. I know I know I can do better on the defensive line than 3 dudes. I know their defensive line better than that. I think I would do better at this in season. Well, I know I would do better in season, but still, we've got. There's a couple studs along the defensive front that I'm forgetting. Let's look at their numbers. 92, 90. Oh, here we go. These numbers help. Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham. What numbers are they? Oh, they're 55 and 78. There's another edge rusher who's really good that I'm not getting. Besides Jalen Harrell. Oh, Braden McGregor, right? I talk about some of these guys so much that it's terrible that I can't remember. All right, how many dudes do I've got? What's my score? 35. It's not too bad. I'll take it. And I still have 3 minutes to go. And I would like to get the punter. I would like to get the punter and another corner. I got 3 corners. I should get their other start. Well, I got Quentin Johnson, James Turner. The punter, 19. He's got a short name. It's like Mort or something like that. It's the long snapper. I don't know. 35. Oh, well, this would be, Yeah. There's a couple key dudes that I'm forgetting. The one guy that, here we go, that I should never forget is the guy that picked off the final pass against Ohio State. Was that Derek Moore, or there's 2 Moores? There's Rod Moore. Yeah. I think that's about as, and Derek Moore's on the edge. Okay. So I picked up a 2-4 there. There's a little 2 for 39. It's about as good as I'm going to do. And I only have 1:45 left. If I think of the punter, I'll throw him on there. But I'm going to give myself 40 because Alex Orji, what's the deal with Alex Orji? I know how to, don't know what the deal is there. Right? There we got 39, and I'm giving myself 40. And as soon as I see the punter's name, I'm going to be mad, but I can't think of his name. All right, let's see what you guys. Mark should try out the something versus mode. Orgy with a J. Oh, it's orgy with, that's what I got. Thank you. I'll take that one. See if I get it in there in time, which is probably not a great thing to say about. That's it. I was going crazy. I tried to spell his name 50 times. Thank you. And so I cannot take credit for anybody else that says anything because I'm looking in the chat now. Mark's going to be so frustrated when he sees it. Yes, with the yeah. Let's see if anybody else was helping me out. McBurrows, yeah. Okay, I got McGregor before he. Good, I know the name, but I would have never got him. Denegal at quarterback, yeah. I may have Carmelo English and O'Leary, the tight end. Tom's telling me, yes. Okay, it's over. So my score is, I believe, 40. Where is it? I got a 40. As a non-Michigan fan, I'll take it. Yes, I wish I would have gotten Carmelo English and O'Leary. Yes, Kevin, nailed it. Orgy's name is as confusing as spelling Bama's new coach's last name, because I do the same thing. I'm like, DEBEOEOAO. Yeah. Royalty. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. But we were trying to do it all on our own. We don't like to get too much help. That would frustrate me. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, Royalty. Appreciate you being here. Oh, CJ Stokes, Moose. I should have gotten to him. I could have gotten to 45. Erica. Yes, I will never forget how to spell Alex Orgy's name after this. I won't. I did get Morgan. Oh, I should have gotten this. I should have gotten Cole Cabana because he was I remember just talking about him a lot when they recruited him and signed him. Sound it out. Oh, you guys, I will drive the entire room away. There will be no one watching if I do the Cleveland Indians. But there's one on there that is like name every player on everyone who has played a game since 1980. Love it. Atwater. Atwater's cat got 46. Well, your cat is the meow of college football. And the meow is much, much, much better, much higher grade than the voice of college football. Sandy Alomar Jr. Perfect. Yes, try it, Moose. Let's see what else we've got from Michigan fans. The other ones there are, let's see, you've got Michigan football. We've got, if you can read these, let me blow it up. They've got Michigan schedules in the 2000s, opponents, the roster, football typing challenge. What? Consensus All-Americans. First round draft picks since 1972. Big Ten MVPs. Head coaches, career records. Okay, that would be interesting. I used to be really good with the NFL draft, but not so much anymore. That used to be my wheelhouse as well. Well, that was probably like worse than poking your eyes out for all of you, but I enjoyed it. I don't know what the typing challenge is. All right, everyone. We do appreciate you being here. I'm going to get back to work because we need to send out some coaches rankings. And we just delivered our latest in our TV ratings series. And yeah, coaches rankings. And sometime around spring practice, probably at the conclusion of spring practice, we'll do all of our player position rankings. And I'm actually going to look at the UCLA roster and maybe produce a video about possible candidates for other teams. Okay. Thanks for being here at the Voice of College Football. Oh, try an Iowa one. Let's see what they've got for Iowa. Erica. I owe this to Erica. She faithful viewer. And sorry that you have to see me like this. Here we go. That's way too much mark. I know. Will get me off the screen in 2 seconds. There you go. Iowa football. Let's see what they got, Erica. Shoot, by now they probably have a Caitlin Clark. We've got Mr. Irrelevant. I don't know what that has to do with Iowa. Oh, but that's probably connected to Brock Purdy, Iowa State. Okay. Iowa football opponents, 2002 through 12. I would rather have it be all the way to 23 because that's how my mind works a little bit better. Iowa football NFL first round draft selections. Iowa football players who received Heisman votes. Iowa football touchdown scores under Kirk Ferentz. Well, in the last 5 years, it's been like 3 guys. The 22 Iowa football roster. We should get Corey on that one. Iowa football leaders year by year, like passing yardage, rushing yardage, receiving yardage, all of that. Let's see what they've got on there. They've got, I believe it's those 3 categories: passing, rushing, and receiving. 1980 to 2017. And then they've got Iowa bowl games. Leaders again since 2000. Starters on the 2002 Iowa football team. Let's see what they mean by leaders since 2000. They've got, oh man, you got passing yards, rushing yards, receiving, total tackles, sacks, and interceptions. I may do a couple of those off air because I don't want to. And then if I'm proud of myself, I'll report my findings. But if not, then. Joe was asking for the last Iowa receiver over 500 yards. I think that was like 1998. D-Rock, I don't know what you're asking, and I don't know anyway. I think I could do pretty well on naming Iowa's leaders. We'll have to come back and do that. All right. Thanks, Keith. I enjoyed it too. I'm a nerd. I'm a stat nerd. I used to be more of one. Tom, thanks for being here. Appreciate you as well. Everyone in the chat, thank you. Erica, Uncle Rico. Haven't seen you much recently. Thanks for being here, Uncle Rico. Joe, Tom, Moose. The real MVP should play the new NCAA video game when it comes out this summer. I saw a post today from our buddy Spencer McLaughlin because he said something about the release of EA 2025 is coming out on a particular day. And he made some kind of funny post like grown men will be in tears or something like that, will be on their knees crying. And man, the last time I played video games is when my kids were 5, 6, 7 years old, when they were into it, and probably not much past that. Thankfully, my son did not turn into one of these. Well, I would have never let him turn into one of these, stay in the darkened basement, the corner of the basement with the video games. But sometime in his, he actually reminded me of this recently. Sometime maybe when he was a sophomore or junior in high school, he decided that he was like, this isn't good for me. And he just gave it away. He just gave away his game system, all that, because he knew I don't want to get addicted to that. I am getting addicted to it. I didn't say anything to him. Anyway, appreciate you being here, folks. We will deliver as much content as you want, and we are going to do a better job of trying to figure out what that is. So that's our big goal for this year, besides me working less. That's the big goal. Work less, make more money. Does that usually go together? We're going to try to do that. Make more money while working less, and also figure out what you guys want to watch, because that's the big key. All right, folks, appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Head on over to the USC channel. Tim, Matt, they're knocking it dead right now. You probably have already left me for them because they're so much more entertaining. So get on over there to the USC channel, and we will see you soon.